Welcome everybody. Today we'll be discussing the economics questions which have been asked in the UPSC Prelims 2021. As you know, economics is a very important subject which is very key, which can help you to crack the prelims exam. And if you analyze the trend of this year's economics prelims, questions asked for this time from economics, you can see that there is a mix of questions. Some questions are going to in deep analysis of the concepts, the basic concepts of the economics, as well as there are some questions which requires or which involves the analysis of some current affairs related things. And on the scale of easy to medium, I would say that a person who have at least read the NCERTs like plus 2 NCERTs as well as any of the textbooks available in market which explains the basic fundamentals of economics would be able to get at least 10 questions correct out of the 15 questions, because we know that the 15 questions has been asked this time. So the 10 questions can be easily be cracked. The rest 2 to 3 depends on a bit of your knowledge, and the rest 2 it's somewhat difficult, and it's better that you can leave that questions or you can just avoid such questions which may cause some kinds of you may not be in a position to explain it or to get the answer correctly. So without wasting time, we shall move into the key discussion. So this is the first question which states regarding, this is the first question of the answer key part, key A or the set A. The question is, consider the following statements regarding the Reserve Bank of India. So the first statement states that the governor of Reserve Bank is appointed by central government. If any person has gone through the newspapers, he will be knowing that there was some issue in 2-3 years back. There was an issue in which the Urjit Patel resigned and Shaktikant Das was appointed by central government to be the RBI governor. So RBI draws its powers from the RBI Act of 1934, and this particular the post of governor is something which is being appointed by the central government, and usually the tenure is nearly for a period of 3 years, which can be varied according to the discretion of the central government. So that is regarding the Reserve Bank, and so hence the first statement is correct. And if you look into the second statement, this is the key. I would say that this is an easy question because of this particular statement, because this particular statement is saying that certain provisions in the Constitution of India, you give a bit stress on this part. It says that certain provisions in the Constitution of India give the central government the right to issue directions to RBI in public interest. Almost everything in this statement is correct, that RBI, central government has the power to give certain directions to RBI to protect public interest. But the only issue is that this particular power is given to central government not by the Constitution of India but by the Section 7 of RBI Act 1934. This particular issue of Section 7 was in news, particularly regarding the Urjit Patel issue, which was deeply discussed in the newspapers. Almost once in every 2 days, an editorial was written about this thing, invoking Section 7 of RBI Act was written in the Hindu newspaper. So newspapers were discussing this one, almost news channels there was discussion. So central government is going to invoke Section 7 of RBI Act. So if you had gone through that particular news, or if you had your eyes open to that particular news, you could have easily know that this particular statement is wrong. And why I am saying this particular question is easy, because by this time you are in a position to reach the answer, because it is saying that which statement is correct. The question is asking to choose you the correct statements, and since you are sure that the statement 2 is wrong, you can eliminate A, B and D, because in all those options it is given that 2 is an correct statement, and you can easily reach the point that the answer is C. And for the sake of checking the key, just look into the third statement, which says that the governor of RBI draws his power from RBI Act, which is true. But in an exam hall, you doesn't need not to look into this third statement. Once you have gone through this completely and you know that this one is wrong, you can easily get the answer as 1 and 3. So I hope that question is clear. Now let's move on to the second question. This question, I would say that it's a bit clumsy. There need to be some clarity, and some discussions are still going on regarding this particular question. So this question is with reference to the casual workers employed in India. So this topic was in news because of the wages or the labor code which was introduced, which tried to consolidate the labor reforms or the how the labor laws are being implemented in India, which tries to, and this particular laws tries to protect the casual laborers who are working in this particular arena, who are being employed in industries and who lack the job security or social security benefits. So it says that all casual workers are entitled for employees provident fund coverage. So this particular thing has been introduced so that now the casual workers are also included in the provident fund coverage. Now this one is a correct statement, which is something factual regarding the code of what the labor codes which have been introduced recently. Now the second statement is that all casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payments. This has been in the news, but the thing is that there is some provisions regarding what the particular idea of working hours, how much working hour which has to be prescribed within a week, and how much should be the pay for the overtime, what should be the minimum pay, which has to be minimum, or what should be the level, whether it has to be 1.25 times of the normal pay or 1.5 times of the normal pay, which you need to pay for this particular overtime. The problem here is that this all casual, the term all is somewhat sweeping, seems like a sweeping statement, and there is some discussions going on that whether the states are entitled to, whether the states have any power to take some decisions or to implement some decisions which can stop this particular, or which can negate the details regarding or the directions regarding central government for the working hours as well as overtime payment. But in a general sense, I believe that you can take this statement as also correct, because this provisions has been discussed in the labor code. Now coming into the third statement, which says that the government can by a notification specify that any establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank accounts. Even though there is an only in this statement, you need to look into the general idea which the statement conveys, which says that the government have an capacity or the power to give notification to to ensure that the salaries are given through bank accounts. So this is also a true statement, even though there is an only, the general sense says that it's something, the directions are in a positive nature, and this statement is also true. So either by logic or by knowing this particular idea, you can deduct this answer. But I would say that using logic is somewhat tricky and somewhat a clumsy statement or clumsy idea in this particular question. So if you are well aware about these facts, you can answer this question. Otherwise, you need to take up these questions in your second round or third round of analysis, and the answer would be D 1, 2, 3. Now let's move into the third question. Now this is the question which checks your practical knowledge regarding the theoretical concepts or the theoretical basic concepts of economics. So we shall go directly into the question, and these types of questions has been asked earlier also in 2019 also similar type of questions has been asked by UPSC, which tries to see how the candidate is able to understand the proper application of certain economic indicators or certain economic terms. So now let's go into the question. So the statement states that during the period of economic recession, what steps can be taken by the government? Now this question is important because in 2008 we had an period of economic recession. Now post 2008 the major economic recession has been witnessed in 2020, majorly driven by the COVID-19 pandemic. So now in this context, someone who is aspiring to become a civil servant should know what should be the government's priority during the period of an economic crisis. So the first statement states that the government should cut the tax rates. The government should cut the tax rates. So cut the tax rates means what? If the government is cutting the tax rates, which means that now more money would be in the hands of public, which gives more discretion to the public, which can lead to the more spending by public or more demand being generated by the public because they have more money in their hands. So this one is a welcome decision. What? Cutting tax rates, because during the period of economic recession, everybody will be in a condition to reduce their expenditure or reduce their consumption. And that time, what should be done? The government should ensure that people have adequate money in their hands so that they can purchase this thing. This is very similar to the Keynesian economics, which have been discussed in the 1929 during the period of Great Economic Depression. So that idea has been described in the class 12 NCERT textbook regarding the macroeconomics. That particular concept is being used in this particular question. So now cutting tax rates is right, but increase in interest rate. See, accompanied by when there is an increase in interest rate, what happens? When there is an increase in interest rates, it reduces the incentive for an investor to take a loan and start a new business. When there is higher interest rates, now an investor or an entrepreneur who wants to do a business has to do more expenditure. Now the cost of credit or the cost involved in raising money is high, which disincentivizes his desire to start a new business, which ultimately decreases the economic growth or the total production in the economy. So even though this one is true, this one is wrong, which makes this statement wrong in the total sense. Now come to the second one. There is saying that increase in expenditure on public projects. So this is one where that the government is trying to increase its investment. If you had gone through the newses in the last year, you might have seen that the Indian GDP was going down during the pandemic period, and the one thing which made it strong, or one thing which made the GDP to withhold to some extent or to hold back some extent, was the government expenditure. You know, the formula for GDP is C plus I plus G plus export minus imports. I know that everyone who have read the class 12 NCERT books who will definitely know this particular formula, and this G stands for government expenditure. And when during the period of a crisis, it is the government which needs to boost the expenditure so that there is demand, or there is demand at the same time, and there is production of goods and services at the same time, which can help the economy to come back to the old position, or it leads to the recovery of the economy. This particular idea can be also represented as a diagram, which says that in an economy there would be growth leading to boom, following that it will lead to an depression or recession, which needs to be accompanied by a recovery, then growth. during this period of recovery, it is government who has to do the pump priming. Pump priming means the government investing in the economy so as to generate what? So as to generate demand, generate supply of goods and services. So this statement is something which can be done during a period of economic recession to overcome that crisis. Now look into the third statement. It says that increase in tax rates accompanied by reduction in interest rate. This logic has been explained earlier. Cutting tax rates is what required during a period of economic recession, and hence the option statement C is wrong, because it says that the government needs to increase the tax rates. If the government is going to increase the tax rate during the period of a recession, the total amount of money in the hands of people decreases and people purchases less. Now when people purchases less, the producers does not have an incentive to produce more, so they would also reduce their production. Ultimately they would leave the country, or they will move out to some other place, leading to a severe economic recession. Hence the statement 2 is wrong, and statement C is wrong. And looking into statement D says that reduction of expenditure on public projects, which is an negation of statement B. So hence this is also wrong, because if there is reduction in public expenditure, there would not be any pump priming, because during the period of depression, the private sector will not be interested in the economy. They are not going to invest in an economy which is already in depression. Now who needs to come into picture? Government needs to come into the picture and save the economy. Now this one is saying that the reduction in public expenditure on public projects, when it is being done, if this one is done, then it is going to what? It is going to a chaos in the economy, because then there will be no one in the economy to invest money. Hence this one is also wrong, and we could take statement B as the right answer. This question is picked, or this question has been sourced from the NCERT, the fundamentals which have been dealt in the class 12 NCERT. This is why I am saying that NCERT books are very key to your economics preparation. Now consider question number 4. This is also a question which can be solved if you know the fundamentals of the economics. Now the question says that other things remains unchanged, the market demand for a good might increase. So you need to see the condition where there is an increase in demand. You need to see the condition when the demand for a particular good can be increased. Now the first statement is the price of its substitute increases. So this can be solved using a common man's logic. That is the crux of this question, or the key of the question is this one. Even if you don't know you are not someone who is very well aware about economics, if you are a person who is a normal person who lives in this world and who spends his money, he can find the answer to this question. See, you have a product. Suppose you are a person who is using a particular kind of pen. Already you know the UPSC aspirants has a tendency to use some particular kind of pen. Someone uses the pen of Pilot, someone uses Technotip. So suppose you use a particular kind of pen, and now there is already a substitute for this pen. There is another pen which can replace this in market, like there is a Cello Gripper as there was Technotip. Now Technotip is the product in our consideration, and Cello Gripper is the substitute. Now suppose the price for this Cello Gripper increases. So what happens is that these two products are favorable to the aspirants and the price of one increases. Now as you know, aspirants, they're living in a very poor conditions. So what happens? Ultimately those people who were earlier using Cello Gripper would find that now Cello Gripper is costly, would resort to the Technotip. That is the product in our concern, because they always generally people chooses which is cheaper in price. So that particular can be logic can be used here. The common man's logic can be used here. So when the price of substitute increases, the demand for that particular product, the product in our concern, you need to understand this question by comparing two things. This can be used in the example of tea and coffee. Tea and coffee are often considered to be substitutes to each other. So whenever the price of coffee is highly rising, what happens? People generally might change to what? Tea. Sometimes they might not change because people have a tendency to be addicted to coffee, but that is not the concern here. You are thinking from the perspective of something which can be changed. That is why it is saying that it is substitute, which can be substituted by you can substitute it with one thing. This can be used. The logic can be used in multiple examples. You can use the examples of soft drinks, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Thumbs Up replacing each other. So anything can be used. Any idea can be used. Now come to the second question, second statement. The price of its complement increases. Suppose if the price of the complement increases, and here the idea is that you need to know what is a complement good. Now the complement good is something which is complementary to one thing. The literal meaning can be taken, something which comes with one thing. Like you buy a mobile phone, and the complementary good or the complementary service along with that can be the mobile connectivity or the mobile cover, the mobile case, or even the headphones associated with the mobile phone. Now you see that when the price of the complement increase, when you see that you are a particular person who is interested in music, or you are interested in some kind of you are purchasing the phone to hear music and using headphones, and if you know that the prices of headphones is very high, that is something very complementary to that particular phone, or even the cover of that phone, the cost of the back case for a phone is very high. What you might think? You might not purchase that particular phone. You might not demand for that particular mobile phone. You would demand for a particular mobile phone which has lower complementary goods, or prices with goods with lower complementary prices. So here, sorry, not lower complementary prices, complement goods with lower prices. This is very evident because you see people using the Realme phone, Realme watch, and all those goods, because the complementary goods are cheaper. If you go to Apple, the complementary goods are costlier. So now people are using more this one, which have lower complementary goods, goods with lower complementary prices. So this is very similar, that the price of this when the price of the complement increase, it is very similar to the rise in price of that particular good. And when there is rise in price, often people have a tendency to reduce its consumption. So this one will lead to decrease in demand. Now come to the third statement. Now if you look in the third statement, it's a combination. We're saying that the income of the consumer has increased, and now the good is an inferior good. Whenever there is an increase in income of an individual or a household, people would often change their consumption pattern so as to improve their standard of living. And in this case, when they are looking to improve their standard of living, they often tend to avoid inferior goods. And hence, in this statement, you can see that when you are having better income, you would try to avoid inferior goods, which means that there would be reduction in demand for inferior goods. This can be explained in terms of clothes you purchase or the food you eat. When you have better income, when the aspirants get some scholarship or something, what they would do, they would replace the thali and everything which they normally have, and they would go to some Pizza Hut or Domino's. I'm not saying that the food is superior there. I'm just saying that comparatively people have an idea that these all are good ones. So that standard of living changes and people reduce the consumption of inferior goods when they have higher income. Hence, this also leads to decrease in demand for that particular good. Now the fourth statement, which said that there is fall in price. Now everybody might have learned the idea that whenever there is increase in demand, there is increase in price. So that is the common thing which everyone has learned in your classes regarding inflation, where there is directly the demand, when there is increase in demand, there is increase in price. But you have to think from the other perspective. Here the thing which first happens is the fall in price, not the increase in demand. There is some product in the market and there is fall in its price. Now this can be explained from the perspective of your mobile phone connectivity. You might all now be using or watching this video using the Jio internet. So what happened during the Jio era, BSNL used to what? BSNL used to give 1 GB for what? 1 GB internet for data for 98 rupees. Now when Jio came into the picture, what happened? They are now giving data for throwaway prices. 1 GB right now, I don't know, cost somewhere around 3 to 4 rupees. So what has happened? There has been huge increase in the consumers of internet or data. This has been particularly driven by the decrease in price, which has been what infused by Jio in our market. But other than that, if you see, when there is a product which people wants, there is a general demand, and then when there is decrease in price, what happens? People would start to consume that more. So that is the thing regarding this particular statement. Hence, if the price falls, the demand increases. This can be applicable for certain assumptions. This might not work but in general sense, what happens when there is decrease in price, there will be increase in demand. Don't confuse it with your idea regarding the increase in demand and increase in price. That is what you might have learned regarding the demand pull inflation. This is a reverse condition where there is first what happens is the fall in price, which can lead to increase in demand. Now hence we can reach the statement 1 and 4. And the crux of this question is that if you know either 2 or 3 is wrong, you need not has to know that both 2 and 3 is wrong. You either have to know that either 2 or 3 is wrong, which will help you to eliminate all other options. You just need to know any of this statement. So that is regarding question number 4. Now let's move to question number 5, which discuss regarding the urban cooperative banks in India. So urban cooperative banks were in news because of this particular issues regarding the failure of certain banks and the RBI trying to come into the picture. And here also the idea is UPSC is not trying to see whether you are as a person who is eligible to become a bank manager, or you are a person to become part of what? Become part of this particular RBI. You are not trying to become the grade B officer of RBI, but what you are trying to become? You are trying to become this particular you are trying to become an IAS officer, or you are trying to become an UPSC aspirant. So the idea is you have to have a general idea regarding what has happened, or what is the thing, what are the things happening in our economy in a general sense. And if you have that particular idea, and if you were someone who was watching in the news and who have a bit concern for people, because those who are concerned for people might see what has happened to the people actually because of the crisis in banking sector, or what happened when when RBI introduced certain restrictions on certain urban cooperative banks. And if you knew that RBI have introduced the regulations, or RBI had influenced, or RBI has regulated certain banks, urban cooperative banks, then it would be easy for you to do what? To eliminate this statement, which states that they are supervised and regulated by local boards set up by state governments. Because this this was in part because urban cooperative banks have somewhat dual controls, but RBI is the one is now supervising and regulating the local boards because they are brought under the Banking Regulation Act. Because this question is also a question where you can apply the principle of contradiction of the statements, because statement 1 and 3 are contradicting with each other. Because if urban cooperative banks are brought under the Banking Regulation Act, then RBI is the one has to supervise it. So either this statement 1 has to be right or statement 3 has to be right. It cannot be, both the statements cannot be true at same time, because if that is under Banking Regulation Act, it would be under the supervision of RBI, which means that you can eliminate what? These two options easily. Now you need to see into what? Either this one or this one is wrong. If you know that this one or this one is wrong, if you assume that statement 3 is wrong, then you will go to 1 only. And that would be a person who has not read the newspaper regarding the banking crisis and the involvement of RBI in that particular crisis. So if you have gone through that newspaper, you might see that this is wrong, hence statement 1 would be also wrong, and you can directly go into statement option B, which states that both 2 and 3 are, both statements are correct. I hope that is clear. This question was discussed in newspaper and these two statements are a bit confusing, but the idea is that what you can directly, you can reach the answer by either by using the technique or by having some knowledge regarding what happened in newspapers or what have been discussed in the newspapers. Now this one I would say is an easy question. Question number 6. You don't have to think much about this thing because the question has using loaded terms in economics, using some difficult terms, but the catch here is that the term is used is influenced by. Now in economics or in social science in general, you can say that almost everything is influenced by everything. Everything has an influence on the other thing. Economy has an influence on society, society has an influence on geography, geography has an influence on political science. So everything is interconnected in social science, and influence is something which everyone influences the other person. Now with this common man's idea, you can solve this particular question. This particular question states that the bond yield of Indian government, or the Indian government issues bond. Now the interest rates paid for these bonds is called the bond yield, but this is dynamic in nature because these bonds can be sold in the secondary market. Hence, based on the changes in the values of these bonds, the yield also varies. So there can be ups and downs in bond yields, and this particular concept of bond yield was in news when RBI has used the operation twist to adjust the values of long term as short term bonds, the yields of short term as well as long term bonds. That particular link to current affairs can be traced from this particular question. Why I am saying that this question is easy? Because actions in United States Federal Reserve, actions of Reserve Bank of India, inflation and short term interest rates. Now all these are economic terms. The United States Federal Reserve is something very similar to the Central Bank of India or Reserve Bank of India, and the equivalent body in USA is the Federal Reserve, which issues currencies and which issues bonds and everything. So the central banker to the government of USA. Now actions of United States Federal Reserve is something which can create demand for their particular bonds. Either it can increase the demand for their particular bond or decrease the demand for their particular bond. Whatever it may be, since USA issues bonds, India issues bonds, now they are something which like the substitute goods in an economy. Either one can purchase this one or purchase the other one, because both are bonds, both are used as an instrument for investments. Now when there is in increase in demand for the bonds for USA, what happens? Automatically there would be decrease in demand for Indian bonds, because more and more people are withdrawing their money from Indian market and purchasing US bonds. And vice versa can also happen. When there is decrease in demand for US bonds, people might put their money in Indian bonds. So this particular logic can be used, that it can be influenced. So this statement can be a general statement. Actions of United States Federal Reserve. Now actions of Reserve Bank of India. This is definitely going to influence what? The bond deals. That is what called the operation twist. Now inflation and short-term interest rates. When there is inflation in the market, there would be fluctuations in bond yield. People might sell their bond because there is links between inflation and bond yields, where the inflation can trigger in what? Reduction in demand for bonds, and which can influence the bond yields. So all these three statements can be taken right, and hence in this general sense you can go to the answer as D, because the question itself is saying that it is influenced by. So it can be influenced, and hence you can easily reach the question. This one I would classify as an easy question. It's an easy question which can be solved even if you does not have a good grip on economics. Now consider seventh question. This question is also being debated because of the nature of this particular question. Because if you look into the question says that what all things can be included in FDI, can be included as foreign direct investments. Now according to RBI website, the distinction between FDI and FII, or how a particular investment becomes FDI, it is saying that when the investment increases more than the 10% of the value of that particular company, what happens? It can be termed as FDI, and when it is less than 10%, it is termed as FII. So this is the general idea regarding FDI and FII. And looking into the other statements, you can see that there is something called foreign currency convertible bonds. Now foreign currency convertible bonds. Now this is, you need to see what is this particular idea. Now this is bonds. Bonds means a debt instrument where you try to take loan from a person. Bond is something very similar to taking a loan. Now it is in foreign currency, which means that you are issuing a bond not to someone in your domestic market, to someone in an overseas market. Like a person in India issues a bond to a person in USA from whom he collects dollars in return. The transaction takes place in dollars, and the idea is that because of this is that now this particular person has to pay back in dollars also. Now the transaction takes place in a foreign currency because it has been issued to someone in foreign jurisdiction. Now this is saying that it is convertible. Convertible means that the particular bonds can be converted into what? Can be converted into equity instruments. Because in bonds what happens is that it is very similar to loans, where it is not secured but there is liability from the part of the person who receives money to give the money back at the prescribed time. But in case of equities, it does not saying that he has to pay back. If the company goes into loss, he does not have to pay back that particular money. And this convertible means that these bonds, even though it starts as a debt instrument, it can be converted into equity shares, which means that the particular person is purchasing the shares, or is acquiring the ownership of the company. And this, if exceeds beyond 10% of the investment of the company, this can be taken as what? This can be taken as FDI. Now the second statement is FII with certain conditions. Now there is a statement in RBI website which says that when an FDI has gone below 10%, Even it had started as an FDI and now it has reduced beyond 10%. It will be again termed as what? Again termed as FDI itself. Rather than renaming it as FII, it will be termed as what? Termed as FDI itself. So there can be chances that FII can be termed as what? FDI depending on the kind of investments which have been made. So this one can be also taken as right answer, but there has been some discussions going on this particular statement. So some clarity has to be made on this statement, which I am still working on the statement. So I would put this on hold. I believe that this statement is correct, but I am not exactly sure about this particular statement. Now, looking into the third statement, there is something called the global depository receipts. Global depository receipts is something issued by a bank, somewhat overseas bank. Suppose I'm a person, I'm an Indian, I am going to a bank in USA and purchases a depository receipt. And below, underlying to this depository receipt, that below to this receipt, the bank has purchased some equity shares from some companies in USA. So the value of this receipt means simply a piece of paper which says that I have this much amount of money kept in this bank, and this receipt has backed by that I get the receipt, but for the bank is using this particular money to purchase some shares, equity shares in what? Equity shares from companies in US market. So this is also what? This is also can be used as an what? Can be used as a FDI, means of FDI, because now a person from USA can do the similar thing in India. He can purchase the GDR from some Indian bank. Person from USA can invest money and purchase GDR from an Indian bank, and the Indian bank would be investing this money in what? This money in different companies to purchase the equity shares of different companies in India. Hence, we can say this particular statement can be also considered as FDI. Now, the fourth one is NRE deposits, non-resident external deposits. These are deposits which does not come into the category of FDI, because these are these are becoming part of our current part of our balance of payment, but this does not comes into the picture of FDI or FII, because this is not being invested in particular company or any sector. This is somewhat refers to what our personal accounts, or a particular person maintains his money in his account. So this statement can be taken as wrong. So C and D can be eliminated, but depending upon statement 2, either the answer can be A or B. So I prefer state A would be the answer, but some more clarity has to be made in this particular question. Now let's move into the 8th question, which states as regarding the devaluation of the currency, and it would necessarily result in which this particular question comes to the picture where what happens when there is devaluation of currency. And everyone who might have learned regarding external sector might know that when there is devaluation of currency, our exports becomes cheaper in international market, and our imports become costlier in our internal market. So with this particular idea, we can say that statement 1 would be the correct answer. Statement 2 state that there is increase in foreign value of our domestic currency, which is a logically wrong answer. You might all know that when there is devaluation, there is continuous decrease in value of our currency. Hence, this is wrong. And improves the trade balance. It might improve the trade balance for countries like China, which is an export-oriented economy. But for a country like India, it may not necessarily improve the trade balance, because we are a country which is depending on large amount of imports. So even if India is not referred in this particular question, the necessarily factor can be taken to account here. It is not necessarily improving the trade balance. It can improve the trade balance for some countries, but for the other countries it can go into the reverse. Hence there is necessary condition. This can be also taken as wrong, and the correct would be A. That is one only. Now let's move on to the 9th question. Now this question is what is a funny question, I think. It's a funny question, but it's a question which is very crux, which is very important for your mains. Each of these points can be used in your mains answer writing. That is how you can integrate your prelims and mains preparation also. So this is very clear. The question states that the creation of black money is a worry for India, and what is the main cause of worry? And if any person knows that what is black money, I'm not sure all of you knows that what is the definition of the black money. Some might think that it is money made from illegal source or something like that. But the definition is the money for which the tax is not being paid, or the money which has been made without the knowledge of the government or out of the normal channel, where we cannot trace the origins or the exit of the money, and this money has been channelized in manners which are utilized to evade tax, so that people are not going to pay taxes. That is going to white money. So that is called the black money. And when people try to infuse this money into the system without paying tax, that is, they are converting the black money into white money without paying taxes, or even by paying some amount of small amount of taxes. This is called the money laundering, where laundering means washing. So you are washing the black money to make it white. That is called the money laundering. These kind issues of black money, money laundering was in news majorly because of the FATF issues related to Pakistan, terror financing and all those things. Now all these things is a cause of worry, but the main cause of worry for the government of India is economics. That is loss of revenue. The money, they are not getting the money. The government is not getting the tax revenue because people are channelizing the money into the black, or they're using their money as a black money rather than paying the taxes. So that is the answer. All these things might look as answer, but these can be eliminated because this is not the major cause of worry. That is the main cause of worry. The main cause of worry is the loss of revenue for the government of India. This is a question which can be made correct if you have some presence of mind. Now this one is the most easy question, directly picked from NCERT. If you have, because inflation is something very common which every aspirant might know. It's a very common thing, and which is the most inflationary in its effect. Most inflationary is creation of new money to finance budget deficit, because itself is pushing new money, just printing currency, and what is government trying to finance its projects. This is what have led to hyperinflation situation in Zimbabwe, and then this has been followed in Lebanon, and all those countries which are facing hyperinflation is a result of what? It's a result of government printing new currency. There has been another issues also. I am not saying that this is the sole reason, but this is one of the reason. Now question number 11 is something which explains the relevance of NCERTs in your preparation, because the concept of money multiplier has been explained in class 12 NCERT, and which is one thing which every aspirant who wants to become an IAS officer should read is the class 12 NCERT, which explains the concepts, which explains lot of economic terms in a very efficient manner. You need not go into the graphs and formulas and everything, but you need to learn the concept. And here it is saying that money multiplier, and money multiplier is clearly explained in that book, which says that when RBI issues some particular amount of currency, bank lends that money to the public, then public deposits some part of it back, and then bank again lends, then public puts some part back into the bank, then bank again lends. So this cycle goes on, and which each cycle it is assuming that the money is being multiplied. So even RBI is introducing this so much money, the actual money circulation is this one. So this is the original money and this is the money multiplier effect. Money generated due to money multiplier effect. So this particular idea is clearly defined in NCERTs, and it says that when more people generate or create this particular banking habit, they can increase the money multiplier effect, because the banks would be getting more money and it will help to improve the money multiplier effect. All those other things, increase in cash reserve ratio, increase in statutory liquidity ratio, everything leads to what? Everything leads to decrease in money multiplier, because all these elements are restricting the amount of money supplied into the market. And this final one, increase in the population of country, is something which UPSC gives you to directly eliminate, because there is no such thing which you can directly link to this particular question, money multiplier and population. Even there is India had the highest population during its 1971 and 81, but that period the banking was not proper. Now the banking is very robust, and now is the period which you can witness the money multiplier to the maximum. So this one will be the correct answer, C. Now let's go into this one. I am not going to expand in detail because there is again inflation. So again inflation has been repeatedly asking, because there were discussions on inflation. Inflation was a major issue during the COVID-19 crisis. There were a lot of discussions going on inflation. So this question is asking regarding demand pull inflation, and this is a very basic question which can be answered very quickly if you know that rising interest rates is something which can cause inflation, but it is causing cost push inflation, not demand pull inflation. Rising interest rates is not something which can cause demand pull inflation, because when there is increase in increasing interest rates, people tend to reduce their consumption, because they are not going to taking more loans or do expenditure. So if you know that statement 5 is wrong, you can eliminate all these three and reach to the correct answer, that is A. So that is why I am saying that this one is another easy question picked from the concept of inflation. Now let's go into statement 13, question 13, which is something regarding RBI. And now RBI as well as the trading of securities, government securities in market. The key to the question is that there is something called Central Depository Services Limited. If you a person who have learned about the money market, capital market, all those systems, you might know that Central Depository Services Limited is something dealing with the securities, something dealing with your investments in the stock market. And the stock market is something regulated by Securities and Exchange Board of India. And this Central Depository Services Limited, to that extent, might not be or is not being promoted by Reserve Bank of India. Even though the Bombay Stock Exchange is there, it is not being promoted by Reserve Bank of India. It is being supported by banks such as Canara Bank, and there is Standard and Chartered Bank, there is HDFC Bank, LIC, all those things are being promoting, and there was discussions on IPO going, the CDSL going to IPO. So discussions were going on regarding this particular thing, which can help you to eliminate both these statements. Now to answer this question, it is a bit difficult because you need to know about the negotiated dealing system order matching. This is a platform managed by RBI. It's a platform which helps the people, or not all people, certain selected sections of financial dealers to trade their government securities. These are banks, mutual funds, insurance companies, or primary dealers who can directly purchase government securities from Reserve Bank. So these people purchases securities from Reserve Bank, and now they want to trade these securities in between them. And RBI provides a platform where they can they can list their government securities and at what price they want to sell this particular thing. This is not open for everyone. This is open for certain selected financial dealers, and this is a platform what maintained by Reserve Bank of India. This is true because since this is government securities, hence this statement is true, and hence statement true is correct. You can go into what you can say that this one statement or the answer is B, because this one is also right, because this was also in news when CDSL had a consumer base of 4 crore investors, particularly from retail investors. This was in news, and this particular news can be linked to this statement. Now the retail investors through Demat account can invest in government securities. Hence the correct answer would be B. Now looking into the 14th question regarding water credit. This has been a good initiative and a good question which has linked the application side of some economic concept toward the social problem solving aspect of the economics. Now water credit is something has been an NGO or the water.org. Water is an NGO which was started in 2009 by the merger of two other NGOs known as Water Partners and H2O Africa Foundation, which majorly works in ensuring proper drinking water and sanitation, not to everyone but to certain selected regions in the world. Mainly they are focusing on Asia, Africa and Latin America, that is the least developed countries. The idea of this water credit is that people are the idea is that people are waiting for the subsidies to come to their homes so that they are supposed to get the drinking water. But the actual thing is that you might not need that much amount of money to get a drinking water supply to your home. You just need some amount of money which can be given by the microfinances by giving a small amount of credit support to these consumers, or particularly from the least developed nations or developing nations. So this particular idea has been promoted by this NPO, non-profit organization Water, which have connection to many other organizations. So this is the basic idea of water credit, and this I would say is an important case study for your mains preparation. Either in your GS2 answers regarding the social justice part, you can quote this case study as a measure to overcome the problem of rural poverty. That is, a major reason for rural poverty is the lack of proper drinking water and sanitation. So that is one way you can integrate your mains and prelims preparation. So this one is correct, this one is wrong. This is not a global initiative. This is not a global initiative. This has been they are picking certain target groups and certain target regions, and it is not under the wages of World Health Organization or World Bank. They are supporting or they are financially supporting them, but this is run by the merger. This is essentially a non-profit organization. Now this one, it aims to enable poor people to meet their water needs without depending on subsidies. This one is also wrong. So if you know that statement 2 is wrong, you can easily eliminate the other options and reach the correct answer. A lot of people might have gone for D, but D is not the right answer. Now let's move into the last question of economic section regarding the concept of lender of last resort. This is the question which emphasizes on the quality of an aspirant to go through the websites of major government agencies like RBI, SEBI, ministry websites before 2 weeks or 3 weeks before your prelims, and just have a look on the major things dealt on that particular website. And this particular idea of lender of last resort has been explained in RBI website, and this particular statement has been clearly taken from that explanation given in the RBI website. And this one can be eliminated easily, that lending and trading from industry bodies, which is not a function of RBI. RBI deals with banks, is not dealing with the other, though other industrial players are not coming under the purview of RBI. And now statement 2 is right, where RBI provides fund for banks. Now statement 3 is that RBI lending government to finance their budget deficit. This has this used to happen earlier, and this right now used to happen as ways and means advances, WMA, but not under the concept of lender of last resort. This particular idea is applicable here. This is also a function of RBI, but not coming under the purview of lender of last resort function. And based on this, you can eliminate, if you can eliminate 3, you can eliminate these 2 and 1, and you can reach to the correct answer as 2 only. So these were with the discussions on economics questions, and I hope you got an idea regarding the economics paper of UPSC Prelims 2021. Thank you.